Welcome to the podcast, the Post Boys Podcast. Join Gary and Ian talking movies.
Thanks for joining me, Ian, for another movie conversation.
It's a pleasure as always, Gary.
Now, we're going to do something a little bit different today. We're going to do a bit of a double bill. So we don't know if it's going to work, but the thinness of connection between the two movies is Fog and Lighthouse.
Yes. So it's going to be the Tower of Terror, a.k.a. Snape Island.
I think it's either, I was trying to remember, it's either Horror or Terror of Snape Island or something, is it?
A.k.a. Something of the Fog as well, I think they use.
Yeah, I think after the success of John Carpenter's The Fog, which wasn't obviously on par with Halloween success, but they tried to cash in by re-releasing it under a different title as well. I don't know what territories that was in.
Yeah.
But firstly, we're going to get through Tower of Evil. I was going to say the Snape Island. Tower of Evil. Yeah. It's a great title. I remember when I was a kid, Ian, I remember looking in the paper to see what the late night horror movie was. And I think it was on like ITV or something. And it was on after the news, obviously.
Yeah.
And it just said Tower of Evil, 1972. And I went, oh man, this is going to be great.
But
that's the first time I ever seen it.
That's the thing. Sometimes they can be, when you hear the Tower of Evil, you think it's going to be medieval. And then you realise, oh no, they're talking about a lighthouse. You know, and obviously, you know, you've got American titles and then British international titles, and sometimes ones are better than the other. It's like... was it Deathline, and it was called in America Dead Meat, which I much rather prefer Deathline than that. But as I say, Tower of Evil.
Yeah, this is kind of a more recent watch for you, Ian, is it?
Yes, yeah, I hadn't seen it before, but I watched it, and you know what? There's some really good lines of dialogue in it. But basically, it's almost like an 80s, late 70s, early 80s kind of slasher, because there's a bit of nudity and a bit of some gory scenes. But they didn't know in 1972 they were making an 80s slasher. But that's more or less what it is, you know. Yeah,
I was watching a documentary with the producer, and he's trying to take credit for being a trendsetter to influencing other better movies, but I think he was probably, I don't know, just probably exaggerating there. But there is a lot of tropes in there that do get played on later on in more successful movies.
Well, I'd say so. I think that old adage, even a stop clock tells the right time twice a day. And I think sometimes there's a lot of, filmmakers have made certain things which it's maybe coincidence that, you know, somebody else has had the same idea later. Or as I say, people think it's an obscure film, so they'll just rip it off.
Yeah, I had a look to see if other podcasters have done Tower of Evil. And, I found two, which was quite poor. Maybe just obviously it's one of these hidden gems that hasn't been discovered properly yet.
Well, I think it's the script was originally commissioned the script, and then it had to be rewritten because I think the producers thought there was too much humour in it, and it was then rewritten under the kind of instruction or in favour of the producers. So I think it's a slightly schizophrenic film because it looks as if it's two films put together. So you've got these American teenagers who go on to this island, this disused lighthouse for a kind of, you know, a wee bit of hanky-panky and to smoke some, pot and all this sort of stuff. And then they are kind of murdered and then there's one survivor, and then she's kind of almost in a kind of coma, and they're trying to access what exactly happened. But then at the same time, you have a group of randy archaeologists who discover, because Robin Asquith, who's one of the American, who's putting on an American accent, he is speared by a golden sword, and the archaeologists say that that's a rare find, and that you won't find the sword. There has to be some sort of ancient ancient warlord buried underneath. There has to be some caves underneath Snape Island. So they then, out of nowhere, go on to the island with TNT to try to look for try to actually blow large parts of the island up to try to look for these caves, because I think once again the film then tries to include a bit of devil worship, because they talk about the god Baal and say, well, Baal in some countries is civilizations is seen as the devil. So you've got a kind of, well, once again, it doesn't know what it wants to be. It doesn't want to be a kind of slasher murder mystery, or does it want to be a kind of devil worship, investigation? Yeah,
it kind of just throws everything in the pot, does it?
Yes.
But I mean, it really is 70s looking. But even the characters, I mean, the dress code. I mean, it's almost like a cliche for 70s fashion.
That kind of late 60s. That's early 70s. This is 1972. So people are still wearing those large kind of almost look like cloth, not cloth caps, but the women wore those kind of, big kind of almost like flat caps, and all, and you can see the change as glam and all the kind of denim starts to come in, where they're all wearing, as I say, tight flared jeans and t-shirts with like butterflies on them, or singlets or stuff, which is definitely very early 70s anyway.
Yeah, I've just got over the structure of this movie. It kind of starts off with a couple of fishermen heading off to Snape Island, and you kind of think they're in a boat, because you could hear the boat motor, but the whole screen's just covered in fog, so you don't see anything, because there's no locational shooting in this movie. It's all done in a soundstage. Is that right?
Yeah. Which is actually very effective, because they're coming and all you're seeing is the kind of fog, the mist, and some rocks coming into it, and it's very effective. And you think, well, if it stays like that, that's going to be good. But later, when the archaeologists come, they go full back projection on the Sea Ghost, the name of the ship, and it's like almost like you can almost see the person throwing the water on the side on the ship. But yes, those two fishermen, Jack Watson, who's a well-known actor. You've seen in countless.
He's that rugged type, is he?
Yes, yeah. He was in The Hill with Sean Connery, and he was in so many. The Devil's Brigade. You would recognise him. He was a PE instructor during the army, so he obviously kept himself fit.
He's got that kind of military, kind of probably like a police military kind of looking about him. He's probably played those lot of kind of type of characters in his casting. Yeah.
And I think his father. His father's played by George Colioris, who's a British Greek actor, and he most famously, he played Dr. Constantine in Murder on the Orient Express. But even more interesting than that, he played Thatcher in Citizen Kane. He was the individual that went to Foster Kane's, was it his mum, to ask to take him away to, so when he's playing in the snow with a sledge, he's the George Colororis, because he's Greek. His last film was in Long Good Friday. So,
wow, okay, so we've got this 6 degrees of separation between Tower of Evil and Citizen Kane. So there you go.
Yes, and so as I say, they've got. I don't know why they had the British actors speak American. Whether or not they thought it was British teenagers wouldn't be, frisky on the island, I have no idea. You know.
Yeah, because there's like a whole recognisable host of probably mostly Canadian or North American actors that usually just come in to fill those roles as Americans, but they're usually UK based.
Well, the actress who plays Penny, who's the one who's trying to remember, with Anthony Valentine trying to say, well, what happened on the island? Her name's Candice Glendenning, and I always thought that when you watch it first, you think the actress is either Pamela Franklin or Carol Linley, who was in Bunny Lake is Missing, but I'd never heard of this Candice Glendenning. So as I say, it does look like a bit like Pamela Franklin, but it's not.
Yeah, I need to check out her biography. She's quite pretty actress.
Yeah.
I'm going to read because I picked up the Blu-ray Tower of Evil. Got it for less than a tenner, so I thought, yeah, me as well. It says here the horror classic finally remastered in HD. Okay, from acclaimed horror producer Richard Gordon of Inseminoid, Devil Doll, and Horror Hospital.
Horror Hospital. Often you'll find a lot of the horror films look fantastic, and that's one of these things. I think there's nothing worse than seeing a horror film that the cinematography is duff, but if it's got a good cinematographer, and in this one it was Desmond Dickinson, and funnily enough, he was cinematographer on Hamlet, on Lord Olivier's Hamlet, and then he did Beast in the Cellar, Who Slew Aunt Rue, Berserk, Trog, Study in Terror, and after this, or at the same time, The Fiend, which was also Beware My Brethren, which is a nasty British kind of film as well. But once again, the cinematography is good. And let's say you've got the architects, not the architects, what I'm saying, the archaeologists. You've got Derek Folds, obviously.
There could be architects for all we know.
You've got you've got Dennis Price, obviously, just for a wee cameo as the head of the archaeological department, and he's sending the group out onto Snape Island. So you've got Derek Folds, who obviously was in Yes Minister, and I think he was an Australian actor. You've got is it Mark? Is that Mark Edwards? I think is it Mark Edwards? I think he's an Australian actor. But what's interesting is a lot of the women, Rose is played by an American, and she actually played Sally Bowles in the 66 Broadway production of Cabaret.
Yeah.
And the actor is Bryant Halliday plays Evan Brent, and he's interesting because he set up. Yes, yeah, because that's the character Brent as they call it, but his Bryant Halliday, and he set up Janus Films with Cyrus Harvey Jr. And if you ever know, they distributed so many foreign films in America. And you'll remember the symbol. A lot of films will come up and you'll have like the kind of Roman symbol and it'll say Janus Films. And I don't know if
yeah, I remember that. Yeah, Janus. Yeah.
So I don't know whether that was incorporated into the Criterion or not, but or Janus Films, and that Anna Polk plays Nora, and she's a live wire. She's the kind of frisky one. She's the one who's saying to people, zip me, baby, and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah. So who's the guy? Who's the guy who looks like Kenny Loggins?
I think that guy is called Mark Edwards.
Okay.
I think it is, and I think he's an Australian actor.
Okay, yeah.
And as I say, they're all kind of either ex-wife or girlfriends or bits and pieces. Because I think this is the scene where I think that there's some scenes in pubs before they go to the bar, and they're talking about the Anna Polk character. She's saying, they had a fling in Cairo, and said, and why did you have a fling in Cairo? And I think the line is something like, masturbation is so boring. and all this sort of stuff. Exactly. There's some lines which are jarring for 1972. There's the one where the students are skinny dipping and they're coming out of the water, and they're trying to get it on, and one of them says, "Oh, I'll dry that part myself." All these little things which are like, what? All these things, as I say, it's not even a free song. There's a scene with, what's the guy's name? Gary Hamilton, who plays Brom, and he tries to seduce the Nora character by crushing a yellow plastic cup. So unlike, so it's not like, what do you call it? It's not like Tom Jones where they're eating the food suggestively. He's like, they're sitting inside the lighthouse and they're crushing the cup. And then she says, "Would you like to go upstairs?"
There's some good rear projection stuff here in this movie, as well as the fashion.
Well, that's the thing, But it's definitely a kind of, I thought I heard something, that kind of strand of slasher films. But as I say, the story doesn't kind of make sense, because I mean, originally the Jack, what's his name, Jack Watson character. I mean, his brother was a lighthouse keeper, and he was in the lighthouse with his family, and something happened. There was a murder, and they all kind of disappeared. And because I'm not sure about the timeline, because you don't know whether it's happened a month ago, 2 months ago, and then it means it was 10 years ago. I think he was a lighthouse keeper, and something happened that they ended up. They took the light away, and his brother and his wife and their baby ended up staying on the lighthouse. Because the wife thought that the husband was losing his mind, and it's better to keep him safe away from the outlet. So the Jack Watson character, the Gamp Gurney is his name, and he ended up bringing food and supplies to them until he discovered that his sister-in-law was murdered by his brother, I think. And the weird thing is, he still keeps a photograph of that in the lighthouse, and it's there's that thing in what do you call it in cinema, show don't tell, and there's too much of all of a sudden just saying, "Oh, he's got a gun," and you say, "Well, how do you know he had a gun?" You need to show that this person's got a gun. It's almost like in theatre, when things happen off stage, but when you're making a film, you can't have things happen off stage. You need to show the audience what's happening. I know some producers or people who just get straight to the action, but if it's not in a logical sense, or it doesn't make any logic, then you'll feel kind of dissatisfied. It just doesn't. Yeah.
And the boat's called the Seagulls. There's actually some scenes when they're on the boat. Cut with the projection, there is some probably stock footage of rocks and stuff, and surf hitting the rocks. Now, some of these rocks here, when they land on the island, I mean, this looks like Star Trek stuff, does it? From the original series. Yeah.
I mean, the model shot at the model shot at the start is good. You see the aerial shot of the island, but once again, I think, as I say, trying to be too many things at once, and it's like, well, pick a story strand and stick to it. There's too much of, how did you get that? Oh, I came earlier. I came last week to plant my dinghy, and it's like, no, you can't be doing stuff like that.
Yeah, that's right. So they put a dinghy there. That's just like, I don't know.
So the character, Brent, who is a private investigator, because he's been employed by the families of some of the murdered hippies to investigate what exactly happened.
Yeah.
And but I mean, when it's quite atmospheric when the initial they discover the bodies, that you see a severed hand and a crab crawling across it, and then somebody's a crab crawling across a naked backside, and it's quite effective in that way. You know, sometimes you'll find even in the flared early 70s horror, there'll be a couple of scenes that either are quite effective or quite nasty.
Mm. Do they still do chalk outlines for bodies and stuff nowadays?
I think is it tape?
Tape.
Is it tape? I think it's tape they put. I think.
Obviously, the one on the wall. That's probably Robin Asquith one.
That's Robin. If Robin Asquith is one of the American teenagers, and he is.
Ian, let's talk about Robin Asquith, okay? Because this guy's, when we talk about British TV or films in the 70s, I mean, he's right up there. I mean, he's part of my youth. I mean, there wasn't anything on TV that didn't have Robin Asquith in it.
Well, yeah, and let's say a lot of these guys, they trained, Shakespearean. They trained in the Shakespeare, and they ended up being. And you'll see, before they were major famous, they had bit parts in, say, Romeo and Juliet or Taming of the Shrew or films like that. And then all of a sudden they get one wee job opportunity. Yeah, I'll take that. And then it becomes a huge success. And then that's all you're ever known for.
So Robert Asquith is a Shakespearean trained actor who later on did the Confessions movies and did a lot of 70s kind of softcore comedy porn kind of thing.
Yes.
Was it someone else?
Well, that's what happened with the British film industry after the American money got kind of pulled out in the 60s. Then they found that these British sex comedies, and there's a good book called Keeping the British End Up, and they're looking at the British sex comedy, and that's the reason why you look at those ones and you think, oh my goodness, that's John Le Mesurier in the Opie Girls. Why is he doing in that? But then you realise that that was acceptable. Those films were all basically the film, apart from Bond films, that's all the British film industry were making. So that's why all these well-known British actors and actresses are in these kind of sex comedies, and there was nothing shameful in it. That was what popular at the time. Although it is jarring to see these family-friendly faces in films that are like, oh, there's a bit of nudity.
Yeah, it's like seeing what's his name, George Roper from George and Mildred in The Devils. Remember?
Yes, yeah, because obviously that Brian, not Brian Wilde, Brian, what's his name? Yeah, because he was in Joan Littlewood's acting troupe. Joan Littlewood, who ended up making, she did the original stage production of A Taste of Honey, and then she did the original stage version of Oh, What a Lovely War. And all these guys were on this kind of very serious theatre, and then go into films and then to television, and then once again the money's better. That's the
a nice happy snapshot of the family. So there's a bit, obviously this boatman's obviously connected, and obviously so there's a bit of kind of relationship going on there.
Yes, yeah.
So I mean, it gets a bit convoluted. The story.
It does. It's that thing where they keep adding on and on and on, and then, I mean, some of the lines. There's a brilliant line to say, "I haven't seen any seagulls on Snape Island," and then the kind of boatman says, "No, you won't see a seagull on, the seagulls don't nest on Snape Island, never have, never will." And it's like, what? It's, I think you can get, there's a few cheesy lines in The Fog, but you can get away with it because of the performances.
Yeah. So, I mean, so we had the bit at the start where the hippies go to the island, they get killed, one survives, she gets taken off, she goes to the doctor. This doctor's got this disco lights.
Yes, kind of a light show to kind of unlock her memory, and then we see the kind of stuff before.
So we're kind of cutting between. This is where it gets messy because we're following the second group of people on the island, but then we're cutting back to the first group as well, while cutting to. So there's like three. Well, not really, not 3 timelines, but two different parts. You got to see Robin Asquith's ass there.
Well, and that's a fact. When the kind of American students, there's one of the finest. Well, it was kind of parodied in Austin Powers about strategically placed items. To hide people.
I remember that. Yeah.
And there's one scene when there's a couple who've been skinny dipping and they're walking, and this fence is brilliantly positioned because they're able to walk and the camera just follows them perfectly, from front to back, and it, covers everything. It's a great maneuver. Yeah,
I like that in Austin Powers where we just haven't that. It was quite brilliantly staged, actually. It was quite well done.
Although, as I say, you can kind of see when Mike Myers is looking. Obviously, there's a monitor in front of him. He's holding up the kind of the fruit and the melons to, you can try. He's trying to get get it right in place.
Well, even like the shadow stuff where you see the shadow through the tent, doing like weird, sick, perverted things, but then when you see what he's really doing, it's nothing. Nothing.
Which is a straight out of Carry On Camping. When they're in the.
I think Mike Myers, obviously being Canadian and being a big Liverpool fan, believe it or not. Obviously, I think his father was British. Was it?
Yeah, no, I think his mum and dad were from Liverpool.
Liverpool, yeah.
Moved to Canada, and like I say, there's talk of a fourth one, but whether that will happen or not.
Yeah, I've seen him at the football supporting Canada.
Yeah,
with Ryan Reynolds as well, the Canadian.
Well, the strange thing, and if going slightly off topic,
as we do always,
the strange thing is if Wales had beaten Bosnia and gotten Wales would have been in Canada's group, which would have been double bubble for Mr. Reynolds when it comes to Wrexham and
kind of slight conflict there.
Slight conflict.
Yeah, there's the famous scene with Robin Asquith when he gets paled. What is that thing that pales him?
I think it's some sort of
sword or something.
A sword, some warlord's sword, and I think once again, it's just all you need is just a couple of lines or just a couple of scenes, or a map, to show you. Oh yes, there's caves here or stuff like that, because you don't really see. You say, oh, there's a, or things just. As you say, things just kind of happen accidentally, and it's like, no, that's not a very good. It's for a film wise, you just can't have things like that because it feels unsatisfying for the viewer.
Yeah, I'm gonna lower the tone, but Robin Asquith getting impaled into the wall. He gets his hole there, does he?
That's terrible.
Well, there's a lot of nudity going on in here, this movie.
Yes,
and there's a couple just walking about naked on the island as well. So.
Well, that's the thing, that they're naked, but they won't be intimate because that's something for
that's
later.
That Glendenning girl.
Yeah,
she is quite pretty. So she's got that bit of the one from Olivia. What's her name?
Oh, from Black Beauty, from Clash of the Titans.
Oh no, what's her name?
Olivia Hussey.
Yeah, she's got a bit of that Olivia Hussey kind of look, a little bit. So,
I mean, as I say, some of the editing is quite good. I mean, the kind of cross cutting and the.
Yeah, I mean, what was the colour? Not to do any spoilers, but what's the colour's name again?
Is it Michael?
Okay,
I think the couple had the baby Michael, and of course
Michael.
Yes.
I wonder if John Carpenter.
Well,
might
that's the thing.
Oh no, maybe Mike Myers.
Mike Myers. But the nurse who's trying to restrain the Penny character is, of course, Marianne Stone, and she is such a familiar face in British films from Doctor Strangelove, because she's the one who comes up to him. Not in Doctor Strangelove, in Lolita, she goes up to when there's the dance, and she's the kind of goth-looking woman, and also she's the reporter. I think she's uncredited. In Hard Day's Night, when she's asking the Beatles, what do you call that hairstyle and all this sort of stuff.
I haven't seen Hard Day's Night for a long time.
No, but she's been in so many Carry On films. As you see a lot of familiar faces, and there's some people you only see once and then never again. Either they went back into the theatre, or mostly went into television. Because in actual fact, the Anna, what's her name? Anna Polk. This was her last film. Who played Nora? This was her final film. She didn't make another film after that. She then just went into television.
I don't blame her after this movie.
Well, once again, the offers, dry up, or they'll go a different direction, or it's just one of those ones.
What's with this craze with turtlenecks for men in the early 70s?
Obviously, that was just that was the style.
Well, like leather patches on your elbows and shit.
Yeah, well, obviously that was one of the it became a trendy thing. I know, as I say, there's too much of what's that noise, and then but you can't have that's the thing. If you've got such a small set, and you it's almost like, say, like the Scooby-Doo, you're running past the same kind of rocks, But no, as I say, you can see what they're trying to do with the story, but you could have either did without the students, or did without the story of the lighthouse keeper's family, and just had the archaeologists trying to discover something strange, and
they could have made the story more linear. Obviously, maybe Christopher Nolan was watching this and saw that's the way to kind of break up the time scale in movies and stuff. You think his going way off topic? You think his Iliad movie, or was it
the Odyssey?
Odyssey movie, whatever. Do you think that's going to be all over the place in terms of time scale, flashbacks and stuff?
No, I would say.
Or you think it's going to be more linear?
It'd be quite linear. But the thing is, I saw the trailer, and the cinematography looks all the same. All his films, kind of cinematography seem the same. They seem like, I hate to say, one note, and it's like, oh yeah, it's that again, it's that, and it's like, sometimes you want a bit of, difference, I suppose.
Yeah. He's obviously got a style, and he's sticking to it. And even like probably the score is probably not a Hans Zimmer score, is it?
It's what's his name? Who did the Mandalorian? Oh, is he Swedish or Dutch? And he's been using a lot of lyres, and bronze. He deliberately said he doesn't want to go down the orchestral route.
Christopher Nolan.
Yes, so this one's going to be all kind of ancient pipes and lyres, obviously early string instruments, and rather than using cymbals, use kind of percussive instruments made from bronze, because obviously it's the Bronze Age. So, and also choral, voices. So, which once again, it's either your bag or it's not.
I kind of like I like an orchestral score. I like a bit of melody in the score.
Yes. Yeah.
A good example for that would be like James Horner's Glory. I thought that was a great score. Obviously, he did Braveheart and worked again with James Cameron, who he said he would never work again with after the crap he put him through in Aliens.
Well, the interesting thing, remember that we talked. I think we talked about that before. You know how the Jerry Goldsmith soundtrack was kind of thrown out, and they used this. I think it's called the Romantic from George. There's a piece, and then I didn't realise it wasn't until I was listening to. I don't know whether it's an homage, but James Cameron uses a piece of classical music. Actually, in what you know when the camera moves through the Sulaco, that piece of music isn't composed by James Horner. That's the guy that did the saber dance. Is it Katachian? Well, that's a tune from actually his. So whether that's like a homage to Alien, because they used that tune at the end. You know, when she says that this is the final. From Nostromo.
That was a orchestral piece. Just slip it in there, kind of thing, and nobody would notice.
And that other piece, James Cameron uses that as well as the James Horner.
I think like at the end of Die Hard 2, you know how like in Die Hard 1, they used the themes from Beethoven's Ninth Symphony throughout the movie. And then the climax, we got the actual score, and then Michael Kamen did the same thing on Die Hard 2, but he uses that Finlandia score. I think it's Scandinavian composer, probably from Finland, basically. I can't remember his name, but that was something just kind of copy and pasted at the end there. So that wasn't really Michael Kamen. That was obviously another classical piece that was just put in there.
Well, that's as I say, Michael Kamen is a good composer, but I would struggle if you played Lethal Weapon, Die Hard, and probably License to Kill, and say, I think you'd be hard pushed to tell which was which, you know, because he loves that Spanish guitar.
Yeah, I love Michael Kamen, but he can. He can do something different. Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves, and Mr. Holland's Opus.
Yes,
really good soundtracks there. I mean, what was it? Morgan Creek, was it? Morgan, the company that the movies that had that as a signature tune.
Yeah, Morgan Creek
for years afterwards. But he was he was from New York, but he was British based, and he did a lot of kind of British stuff. Michael Kamen. Well, he lived in.
I never know that because when you hear that's that thing, you know, as soon as you hear a Spanish guitar, you think of the continent, or you think of like Mexico or stuff like that, and you know.
Yeah, he's from New York, but obviously went to Britain, and he did a lot of he did that TV stuff. What was that show that Mel Gibson did a movie version of it.
Thingy of Darkness.
Yeah, Edge of Darkness.
Edge of Darkness. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's when he first. He was always doing like stuff with rock bands like Queen, obviously, with
Highlander.
And he worked with Pink Floyd on The Wall. He did the orchestrations for that as well. So it seemed to be the go-to orchestration guy for rock bands, and he teamed up with Eric Clapton and David Sanborn, sax player, and he did that Edge of Darkness mini-series on British TV. And obviously, I think maybe Joel Silver must have heard that. I think it was Richard Donner maybe, and says, "Oh, well, we'll get that for the Lethal Weapon movies," and that can kind of be the staple for the whole franchise, to be honest with you.
Well, that's the thing when you think about particularly either American TV or British TV. It's like that saxophone just is so kind of 80s. You know, when you hear that, you don't think of 70s. Well, you think of late 70s and then early 80s. I mean,
yeah. I'm pretty sure they had saxophones in the 70s.
Well, yes, yeah, but then I suppose it's that you know, I suppose like the Taggart theme tune. You've got that you know, the electric guitar and a bit of you know which everybody want. Yeah, like synthesizer, electric guitar, a bit of saxophone. Yeah,
I mean, like obviously, well, I think saxophone probably lost that muscle bound guy in Lost Boys, Timmy Capello,
Oh,
what his
yes,
name is. I think he was saxophone player. He toured with Tina Turner as well. And you had a bit of sax in the Mad Max 2 and 3. So there was loads of saxophone going about there.
I think the version I saw was cut because there was a long bedroom scene, which I don't think was in the version I saw.
Of Tower of Evil.
Tower of Evil. Yeah.
Well, you saw the cut version or the uncut version?
I think it must have been the cut version.
Oh, okay. If you want to watch it again, you can watch it in sparkling remastered high definition. There we go. Getting the proper treatment it deserves. There we go.
Well, once again, it looks those early 70s horrors. The cinematography always looks good.
It's got audio commentary on there. I like listening to audio commentaries, especially at night, just before bedtime. Just drift off to sleep.
It was AMSR. That's all.
These characters not get a bit cold and.
Well, that's the thing. I think it's
Island.
Well, that's the thing. I don't know if it's supposed to be what time of year it's supposed to be. Well, once again, it's one of those things where people make a decision, and then it's like, right, no, it's going to be winter, and it's like, well, no, you filmed everybody in t-shirts, so it can't be winter. But that doesn't stop some producers saying, no, it's going to be winter, and it's like, it was. I think maybe a lot of this was shot one way for one aspect, and then they've edited it because I mean, as we said, there was a rewrite. It was rewritten again, and whether or not they just thought, right, we'll just keep that bit, and it's like, yeah, but you need to connect that bit to that bit. You can't just, right. We want a horrific killing, yeah, but it comes out of nowhere, but unintentionally comes out of nowhere, not because it's wants to be shocking. Let's say they go looking for, as I say, they try to use dynamite to try to find once again, there's they must have got a job lot of little crabs and then put them all over. But that's a good idea because that just gives it a bit of life to it. So rather than find a corpse, you put a couple of crabs crawling across it, and that gives a bit of life to it.
Like Rob Bottin sticking, was it worms or maggots in that face at the end of The Fog, which we'll be talking about later on.
Yes. And of course, as I say, that they're trying to find the entrance. Well, once again, there's no definitive entrance. So then one of the guys, Brom, is walking, and then there's a hole that opens up, and then the Jack, the kind of fisherman character says, "Oh yes, having denied that there's any caves, all of a sudden says, yeah, there are caves," and it's like, no, you can't just all of a sudden, dramatically, just all of a sudden say, no, there's no caves. Yeah, there are caves. And it's like, no, it's all to do with pacing, between one piece of information to the next. There has to be, there's a bit of a science and an art to it as well. You need to leave a certain amount of time before you give new information, because then it just becomes unbelievable, Like, as I say, a character who's come onto the island hasn't once got a gun, and all of a sudden somebody will say, "Oh, do you see that bulge? Oh, he's got a gun." It's like, well, how do you, you're just doing that just to, I know, trying to move the story along, but then it's probably because you've shot a scene where he's got a gun. It's like, oh, wait a minute, we haven't mentioned that he's got a gun, so we need to go back, film a little section to say, yeah, I saw him with a gun, and then, yeah.
Yeah, but with all the hanky-panky, the bulge is probably something other than a gun.
Yes, probably. But as I say, once again, this thing wasn't made as like a sex comedy. So whoever made it was fairly progressive in the, it's quite more. It has a bit of a modern taste to it. As I say, it's 72, but yeah, you would think it was made.
You think
later?
You think if it was like you were saying before, the producer obviously wanted to make it more serious, but if they'd kind of gone the way of making it a bit hammy and campy, it might have been one of these so bad it's good movies that might have been more of a cult
Well, see,
favourite.
I think that's the reason why it's so bitty, because obviously the scene in the kind of medical centre, the hospital, where they're trying to, because obviously she is the only suspect in the murder, and that kind of thread is dropped, and after she's shown the footage of, or she's remembering the footage of her friends being killed. That then is dropped. We lose that thread. We don't then mention it ever again. As I say, it was just used as a way to show, how we're going to show the footage of the American students being killed. All right, well, I've got a way, we'll just have her kind of being hypnotised, and then that's dropped altogether.
So she doesn't come back into the story after that then, does she?
No.
It's basically that's that.
That's more or less, that's that. Because you don't see her actually coming out of the kind of, the trance, the kind of coma that she's in. That's it, and that's kind of dropped. And well, obviously there's an assumption that once the survivors get off the island, they'll say, but that was 1972, so perhaps, you're left kind of hanging, and as I say, they eventually find the catacombs. And there's one which, as I say, a health and safety issue where if you ever seen the film, it must have been a one take when they just set light to a lot of, I don't know what it was, petrol or white spirit, and it just goes right across the floor, and it just almost engulfs all the actors. The actors look as if they almost got singed as well.
Would be surprised?
Well, and obviously the big secret of the film is that the child who was born with a light keeper got the father's some sort of genetic, madness. So it's almost like a cross between the Beast in the Cellar and Deathline. This idea of some weird creature, but then once again, it's how did they eat? What's he been living off?
Jason Voorhees, he seems to get about okay.
Yeah. And
we don't think too much into that, do we?
No. But there's, so obviously you've got basically it is like Deathline, when it's in Mind the Gap. So you've got this guy who's long-haired and got long fingernails, and he's chasing the kind of Nora character. But there's something, I don't know what they've done, whether it looks as if they've under-cranked it, but there's almost a jerky motion. It's almost as if it's like animation, not quite animation, but almost something like that. Which would be interesting whether or not, because when she's chased up the tower of the
Tower of Evil,
the Tower of Light, that she's kind of thrown off.
The Tower of Evil, the largest erection on Snape Island.
I mean, as I say,
only by a few inches.
Only by, as I say, there's some good. Some good shots. As I said, when I was researching it, I was discovering that the nurse that Marianne Stone, she's in a film called The Cherry Picker, and it's part of the BFI 75 Most Wanted. And the BFI have got a list of 75 films that either they've got terrible copies or they haven't got any copies at all. And they're once again looking to try to, because there's so many British films that have been made, and that let's say I haven't seen them or they've disappeared or.
Yeah, a lot like what we were talking about the last time with the quota quickies. A lot of those movies are just gone, destroyed.
Yeah,
even a lot of TV stuff will just basically just used, just taped over.
Well, because I saw that Jack Watson that plays like Gurney, he was in a film called Decline and Fall of a Birdwatcher from 1968, and it's got the same cinematographer as Desmond Dickinson, and that's one I've never seen, Decline and Fall of a Birdwatcher, which is a bit like, is it Evelyn Ward, Decline and Fall, but they've set it in the 60s, so that's why they put Birdwatcher and not as a twitcher looking at women. That's why it's...
Maybe they'll find, maybe there'll be like loads of canisters hidden away somewhere. Yeah.
Well, see, that's the thing. I mean, a lot of them perhaps maybe they made once or they only made a couple of copies, or there's been fires in houses, and that was as I say, there's something about later on. I don't know whether or not the camera decided to, in order to make it more sinister, slightly either run things backwards or run things slightly, under speed or something like that, so they can control it or make it more sinister or jerky.
If this was in a Italian production, that kind of genetic inbred killer would have been played by George Eastman. He always plays the killer. He's about maybe 7'5", and he's massive. But he was always in these Italian exploitation movies. He was called George Eastman, but he was Italian, so that wasn't his real name.
I saw, what film did I see recently? It was a black and white one, and it was a British guy that went to Japan, and he was infected by something, and he started to turn into, and it wasn't like Tetsuo, it was something from the 50s or 60s, and it was a curse or something. He was slowly turning to, was he turning into a moth? He was turning into something anyway, and it was really quite effective. Once again, it's these films you see late at night, and that you don't know the name, and you just see an image, and you don't know whether it's a TV movie or if it's a film or what it is. She's
scared because the monsters come out or whatever. He's covered in grease, and she doesn't want to get covered in that grease because it's going to ruin her outfit. Oh, she's dead.
But no, I think that they must have had that scene about the Michael character, maybe doing it slowly, so perhaps there was enough space to get the camera, or it'd be too quick. So maybe that's why they slowed it down, in order to stretch it out. Because obviously you've only got a little set, and the blocking.
There's always some padding in these type of movies where the people are just wandering about dark hallways or caves or something.
Yeah, and as I say, that the Brent character, as I say, at the end, he said, how we're going to get off the island, because obviously the boat's is blown up, and he says, "Oh, I came here earlier and last week and put a dinghy," and it's like, no, you can't be having that.
I came here last week and I just left my helicopter at the other side of the island.
Yeah, no, that's
and it's fully fueled as well.
That's like that's not even first draft stuff. That's way before first draft, just to say, oh yeah, and how they're going to get off. Oh well, they'll have this and this
just
and this. No,
plug in the plot holes just by just full of dialogue here and there, isn't it? So.
But obviously, sometimes when you're writing a script or you're close to it, perhaps you can't see the plot holes. Sometimes you need an outside view.
This face, it's in the cave wall.
The shrine of.
I mean, it looks like a giant dildo for a nose there sticking out.
It's Baal. As I say, it's the
Baal. He was in Night of the Demon as well, was he? Was the wood carving drawings and stuff?
I think
Baal.
I think they've reused it a little bit, because I think Baal is it Egyptian or it's in the Egyptian they've used
ancient Sumerian or Sumer or something, ancient Mesopotamia.
They're talking about the Phoenicians, but once again, it's like that thing about, right, we want a kind of ancient temple, but it's like trying to basically, you say to them, what film do you want to make? And it's like, well, we want to make that film. Okay, right, throw this story out, throw that out, because you're obviously not wanting to make that,
That the detonator that the guy's got looks like a can of Spam from 1970s, isn't it?
It's the battery, isn't it?
Oh, that's what it is.
But also, once again, it's like, they've got the thing that they've blown up the cave entrance to try to get in, but at the same time they've blown up, I don't know, is it the gasoline or the fuel? But then if you're going to do that, you need to tell the audience that that's a fuel tank there. You actually need a scene to say, I'm just going to get some fuel, and see them turn it on to get some petrol and then turning it off. And then when the explosion happens and the petrol tank falls over and starts flooding the place, then the audience goes, I understand now. You can't then just have stuff happening, you know. You need to tell the audience, or at least, you need to show the audience, I should say.
And beside Baal, or the god, there's always some buried treasure as well. Just
well, that's the thing. That's how they
it's
think.
like something out of the Goonies.
But also, I don't know whether or not what's confusing, because it looks as if there's two shrines, but I don't think there's two shrines, because the Brent character's just come and it's been empty. The sarcophagus is empty because it has no lid. And then all of a sudden the Brom character comes and you see a hand in the sarcophagus. And then he comes out and then kind of kills him. And it's like, well, you know, did they forget, you know, was that one film first? You know, that's the thing. Are things placed out of order? Or somebody says, well, that's not going to make sense because you need a cover for that. If you want your character to jump out, you'll need a cover, because the audience are going to think, well, wait a minute, there's no cover. I can see who's there. You can't, all these little things, all these little details.
You think that they probably didn't storyboard this movie?
Well, obviously they just say.
I think with the structure, it's obviously that they couldn't be bothered reshooting it or doing any post work, so we're going to have to just like stitch this together some way.
Yeah.
And then we'll just do it in this kind of convoluted, chopped up version.
Well, here's the thing. He's come to that temple. Basically, are there two temples of that Baal? Obviously not. There must be one, because, well, he came along here. Yeah. So he's went to the temple. There's nobody there. He's gone back out. He's come to the temple, and then he sees the Brom's been killed. But
so like the fisherman guy, him, he's the father of, is it? No.
He's I think he's his. He would be the uncle of the kind of the creature, the Michael character.
Okay. You think with all that gold in there, he could like retire? You know what I mean?
See, once again, I know sometimes people talk about, people read too much into certain films and stuff like that, and say, you know, why can't you just enjoy it? And it's like, but there comes a point to say, well, that doesn't make sense, and it's not being, you know, a cinephile. It's just saying, as a viewer, that doesn't make sense, you know. And I think sometimes people watch films and can't quite put their finger on why they didn't have an enjoyable experience, and it's like probably because subconsciously the script and what you're seeing is a wee bit duff, and it's not, you know, you don't have to be totally spoon-fed, but if things make logic, and, you know, and after you see a film, I really enjoyed that. Yes, because everybody's been working their butt off by trying to make it as best as possible, make it as entertaining and as kind of, you know, there's a degree of logic to it, you know. It's when you try to have shortcuts and it doesn't work. You can't have shortcuts for, you know.
Do you think Spielberg watched this and got the idea for the end of Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom?
Well, the thing is that you must admit the set, the kind of cavern set, it looks pretty good. But also, it's one of those ones where you've got a guy who's roaming about, and it's like
covered in grease.
Well, on you know, on one minute he's a ninja, and other times he's walking straight into them. You know, well, now that has to be one of the first times in a film you've seen somebody do the old neck break move.
Well, it's obviously. I think Chuck Norris probably says, "I'm going to trademark that. I'm going to break people's necks with my feet."
But then you can't.
And then there's a bit of a love story there as well.
See, that's it. But these things are too, you know, if you want to have the love story, you need to set it up. And I think that's what the filmmakers didn't want to, you know, have the problem about trying to set up. You can't have if you want emotion in a film, you need to set it up. You need to set up the little bits and pieces and all this sort of stuff. You know, you can't just have kind of, you can't create artificial, emotion.
Yeah, so it kind of ends like an action adventure movie kind of thing in the caves.
But then they have to go back in the cave. Once again, it's like, well, we need a bit of dramatic license, Well, there's two endings, isn't there? There's two endings, because you've got the brother, who is the fisherman's brother, or brother-in-law, and then you forget where's his son, and his son almost is probably the same age as the father, and it's that thing. Phew, everything's okay, and then it's like, oh wait a minute, did he have a son? And then all of a sudden, once again, why keep that photograph in the lighthouse of it? But that photograph of the lighthouse keeper and his wife and his child, that's only there for dramatic purposes. I mean, the fisherman could have had a photograph in his pocket.
It's the pose is quite funny. It's I don't seem to be very happy to get a picture taken. So what's the swerve here then? Remind me.
The swerve is there's also the child. So it's the father's been dispatched with long hair, beard, and nails, and they forget whatever happened to the baby, and the baby now has grown up to have long hair, nails, as well. But as I say, it doesn't help that they both look like the same, which probably confuses some.
Yeah, just beard, dirty face, kind of a bit like Rasputin.
Kind of like Rasputin, and then I don't know what's
a little bit of a more deformed.
Well, whether it's deformed or whether it's just because it's a mask for the burn when he's put.
Oh, would be.
And then, of course, when unbeknownst to everybody else, that the petrol or the gasoline has been seeping down into the cellar. So when the sun's put on fire, it then spreads everywhere, and then it spreads down into the catacombs, into the cave, which then looks like a bit of a health and safety.
Oh, God, I hope that's a robot and not a stuntman.
It's once again, I don't know whether the actor's got danger money, because the scene in the catacombs,
Whoa.
that's real. That's it's no CGI there.
This is like competing with Backdraft here.
Yeah, as I say, it's. I mean, there's some scenes.
It's more like a church window, is it? I mean, do you have windows like that in a lighthouse?
Well, see, that's the thing. As I say, it's probably well, that's probably why it's the tower. But I mean, you could make a really good story about the history of that. Where they built the tower on. You could really do like a woodcut, prologue about this outcrop, and they built this and this and this and this, and then. But no, don't want any of that. I want to go straight into the nudity and the blood.
I mean, the first thing we see is a man's naked ass lying in when the fishermen get off the boat.
Yeah, with the crab crawling across it.
Yeah,
but no, there's
probably did have crabs.
There's good. Once again, there's good elements.
Big explosion there. It's almost like Derek Meddens type miniature explosions.
Yeah, as you say, some of the model work or the matte paintings of the island with the smoke coming out, almost looks like Krakatoa.
Yeah, and that's Tower of Evil. I think we've got quite a lot. And
of
a lot
course,
more than we.
Well, that's the thing. And they say Robin Asquith is way down, the bottom.
And even like Candace Glendenning, and we thought that she was going to be the main.
Yes. Oh yeah.
The main person in the movie.
Yeah, and then yeah, that's it. That strand is just, yeah, that's it. Case closed.
Okay, so that's Tower of. I would recommend checking it out. You can see it on YouTube. There's some pretty good rips of it. You can purchase it, the Blu-ray, in high definition.
Oh yeah, as you say, you'll be surprised how kind of progressive it is, or as bloody, or as sexy, or whatever it is. But yeah, it's an it's an interesting watch anyway.
Yeah, it's got memorable scenes,
but not a memorable film.
Yeah, it's just what's the term? It's not as good as the sum of its parts.
Yes, yeah.
Is that
greater than the sum of its parts?
Yeah. So I knew get that right, but there's got memorable scenes. I mean, like I said, I seen it when I was a kid, and obviously it left an impression. But obviously it's a bit of a mess as well. But I would definitely check it out. I mean, if you're a completist and you're looking at 70s British horror movies, it's definitely something needs to be checked off. So that's Tower of Evil. And next movie in our double bill is the John Carpenter classic, The Fog. Now, this movie is steeped in atmosphere. I mean, this has to be one of the most atmospheric movies probably ever made, in my opinion. I mean, it's to me, it's a comfort movie. It's a movie I could just put on probably like 2 or 3 times a year at night, and just drift away. It's just such a great movie. But like a lot of great movies, even like Jaws, Spielberg, there's obviously a lot of kind of hardship in the production of the movie. Had to go back, do some post-production and stuff, which we'll talk about. But what was your introduction to John Carpenter's The Fog?
It was the last 5 minutes of it, and I switched it on, and it was the scene in the church,
mm-hmm.
and I knew nothing about it. All I saw was the Hal Holbrook character holding the cross, and this demon or whatever with red glowing eyes holding onto this cross that seemed to get brighter and brighter and then freeze, and then it ended. And then for years I used to confuse that scene in The Fog with, obviously there's a few films that have got red eyes. You've got The Keep.
I was going to say The Keep, yeah.
You've got the Horror Express, but the one that I got confused because it had the same something was The Dark, directed by John Candos, and it's a science fiction, and and that's why, and it's about like an alien that comes to kind of Earth or takes over a body and has got red glowing eyes. So for years, I was confused between The Dark and The Fog, thinking it was the same thing, and also not knowing what it was. Just apart from there's this creature that's kind of dark with red eyes, and that was it. And I didn't actually watch it till very, very recently. I watched The Fog. I kind of stayed away from it for ages, because obviously you saw so many posters. You saw the famous image of Jamie Lee Curtis, which really isn't actually is in the film in the sorts, but the famous one where her head's kind of turned and closing the door.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was a cover we had in the UK. But we'll just summarise it because we've seen the movie so often. But it kind of starts off with this prologue with famous actor John Houseman.
John Houseman, who the Citizen Kane connection.
Another Citizen Kane connection. So there it is. That's That's the Two Citizen Kane, Kevin Bacon, 6 Degrees of Separation Connection. We've got lighthouses, we've got smoke machines, and some stalking slash horror elements there. So
obviously John Houseman, he went later in his career. He was obviously in Rollerball and was it 3 Days of the Con, or was it Eiger Sanction? But he won his Oscar for Best Supporting Actor for The Paper Chase, which he played a kind of curmudgeonly lecturer, which almost one of those templates for those roles. And obviously, originally they wanted what did they want? James Mason. James Mason turned him down. So John Houseman gets it, and then gets
I mean, obviously he's got that delivery. He's got that kind of mid-Atlantic accent.
Because and also when I was watching that, when he talks about Spivey Point, and funnily enough, I read that he was in The Cheap Detective, which was actually quite a good looking movie. Peter Falk plays almost like a kind of Sam Spade character, and it's like almost like a spoof of the Humphrey Bogart. And John Houseman plays a kind of Sidney Greenstreet, and that when he's in The Fog, when he's given that kind of prologue, there is a touch of the Sidney Greenstreet about the Spivey Point, and
kind of over enunciates.
The 21st of April. If you said that once, he said it 1,000 times.
Yeah, 11:55. Time for one more story. Well, it's effective. It sets the mood, and there's a good like jump cut with that. There's a kind of dangling pocket watch and stuff, and there's really good jump cut there, kind of thing. Is it?
Well, that's the thing about John Carpenter. It's the sound, the quiet, and then the noise, or either the radio or the clip of something. Although sometimes he can be, I think in this film, sometimes he can be a victim of his own success. That kind of the jump cut is like, or the misdirection. It's like, John, you've done that one too many times in this film. There's the scene. I don't know whether or not Hal Holbrook is on like a seesaw when he comes out of the church, and it does look as if he's down, and then he's been raised up almost like on a springboard, and he puts his hand on Janet Leigh because he says, "Father, where are you?" And he literally, it looks as if he's just.
It's actually I like it. It's brilliantly done. She's looking about for what's his name, Father. Oh God, it's got like an Irishy kind of. Obviously he's like maybe a Catholic priest,
yes,
but she's looking about, and it's just like an alcove which is completely pitch black, and he just springs out like nothing. So I know, and just grabs the shoulder. So I know it's brilliantly done. But it was done with crackerjack timing. It was perfect. So then we've got that prologue that kind of sets the mood, and then we've got some like just like nighttime shots of Antonio Bay, different areas and stuff, and something's not quite right. Things are kind of just going a bit screwy, sort of thing.
Going a bit screwy. You don't know whether it's an earthquake, and then kind of the journal and the father's that there's a stone, and the journal falls out of the stone wall, and he starts to read it about the anniversary of the
Father Malone,
the anniversary of the shipwreck, and then you learn about it was done deliberate. The shipwreck.
Elizabeth Dane, was it?
Elizabeth Dane, and then it was done deliberate I think it was to get because the settlers wanted to move somewhere else. They wanted the gold. They didn't want so they deliberately set a fire in order to lure the Elizabeth Dane onto the rocks. And it's not until you read the novelisation that, and I don't think this is quite clear in the film, that 6 people must die, but the 6 victims aren't random. They're relatives of the 6 conspirators.
Mrs. Colbert.
Yeah, well, I think in the novelisation, but I think that's something which isn't quite made clear enough, because I
They
think
kind of seemed a bit random, did they? Like,
Yeah.
when you got the fisherman on the boat, so
yeah. But I think once again, as you say, that it's not. It's a good film. It's not as I say. It's not a perfect film. Some people do accuse John Carpenter of being more interested in mood than the story. The composition fantastic. The cinematography by Dean Cundy, fantastic. How he never won an Oscar for his films. I think he was only nominated twice. One for Roger Rabbit and one for Apollo 13. But he's never won. He's been given obviously lifetime achievements. But he did Back to the Future. He did Jurassic Park. He did, he did a lot of obviously John Carpenter stuff. But yeah, and I think that's the thing about the John Carpenter films, that if you're flicking through, when you see that cinematography, that kind of warm glow, that kind of that almost like fluorescent neon kind of glow, it draws you in, and then it's not too late to think. I can't tell just by looking at whether it's a horror, whether it's a drama, what it is, and then you're sucked into the film.
Yeah. So like we get that that atmospheric scene. Shit happens. Like petrol station gasoline starts pumping petrol by itself. The car alarms or some alarms, I don't know if they were car alarms at that time, going off. Nancy Loomis from Halloween?
Yes.
Her furniture starts moving about and stuff for no apparent reason. Yeah, basically it all happens, and obviously the time clocks and watches all seem to like break and stop at the same time as well.
And then you're told that's when the conspirators met. I think that's when. But once again, it's one of those ones where, well, you know yourself, Gary, that there was some reshoots in the film just to make sense of certain things, and also to maybe either make things more clear or inject a bit more horror into the piece.
Yeah, I think originally that Carpenter just wanted to make an old-fashioned ghost story, but he knew you had to fix it after seeing what was created and stuff, and even he had to redo his own score. He didn't like the original score he did. He redid it, and I like it. I mean, it's simple enough, little do kind of on the pianos of it all, but typical. It's like 3-finger score from Carpenter. Yeah.
Although I don't know, did he do the? Obviously, did he do the easy listening music as well? Did he do that? You know when the DJ, when Stevie Wayne plays the music, did he do that stuff as well?
No, I think that stuff was all. What was the thing? It's non-copyright. It's all old.
Non-copyright.
It's all old music. It's old kind of jazz, easy listening, elevator music. That's basically it's royalty free. So the thing is, because there was such a low budget, they couldn't put normal music and have to pay artists to use the music.
Yeah. So
So they thought, we'll just create a radio station that plays crap music. So basically, and everybody in town listens to it.
Well, that's a good job where it's you're working 6 till 1? 6 till 1, and that's it.
Like, it's like you starting like a KAB radio station and playing Vera Lynn all day. So I know.
Yeah, I suppose.
Who's going to listen to that? So basically, shit happens. And then they've got the scene on the boat, which was quite good. You got these 3 fishermen. It seems to have a habit of just going off the coast to drink beers on the fishing boat.
And then Stevie Wayne, the DJ at KAB Sound of the Surf, she gets weather messages, and then she passes them
from
another station.
From another John Carpenter alum,
Dan,
Charles Cyphers.
And she gets information that then she passes on, and it talks about, this is the initial one, that there's a fog bank now. Now, the interesting thing about this line is it's the way it's delivered. Now, if it's delivered in,
are you talking about on the boat?
Yes, because it goes. It's something like fog bank said, "There's no fog bank out there," and there's a second they said, "Hey, there's a fog bank out there." Now, it's the way it's delivered, and it's the way it's set up in the film. Because any other film, you would think, "Wait a minute, it's like there's no snow. It's snowing." It's like you can't get away with that, but somehow you can get away with that because of the performances.
Yeah, this performance was George Buckflower. Now this guy has a cameo. He's like the Dick Miller of John Carpenter movies. He basically has a cameo in every movie. He either plays a bum, homeless person, or an alky. And he's looking out the window and he hears the weather report from Stevie Wayne. And then, "She's crazy. There ain't no fog bank out there. I tell you, there ain't no fog bank out there." And then he goes, "Hey, there's a fog bank out there." So I find this is brilliant.
It's absolutely brilliant, and I would say that anybody who says that it's the delivery, it's anything like that, because anybody else you would think that's terrible writing, you know.
No, but it's comedy. It's a bit of comedy there.
But yeah, it's like they say, "Are you weird?" And he says, "Yes, I am weird." You know when Jamie Lee's picked up in the.
Oh, thank fuck, you're weird, man.
See, that's the thing about the film that there's not. I was going to say there's not much happens. There's not much story. But
she was like, "Are you into young girls? Because you're gonna fuck me later on tonight." That's what she's asking.
Well, the thing about the film, I think the reason it lingers is it doesn't hang about. There's not much. I would say there's not much to it. It comes and it goes, and then you have to dissect. You have to then think about it for a couple of days and maybe watch it again, and then that's how it grows because there's not much. It's it starts and then it finishes, and then you're left with, well, that's it, and then you're left with all the answers. Try to answer questions in your head about what the story is, what you know what it is about, but the way it's delivered. Do you think this is either a really good film or a really bad film? I can't tell.
I think it could have been a bad film, but it was saved.
Yes.
Post production and probably editing and stuff.
Well, I think that's what John Carpenter said, that he wasn't too happy with the special effects, and that's what that was one of the reasons he agreed to the remake, because they were able to bring a bit more special effects to the thing.
Really bad CGI.
Well, see, obviously at the time you don't know.
But they had to use actual smoke machines and do reverse kind of photography and stuff.
And that shots, the shot of I don't know whether it was day or night. The shot of the sea is, it would be worthy of David Lean. When you just see, you just see the sea going on for that high up, must be on the cliff and shooting the nighttime image.
Yeah. There's a scene right at the start where the camera's black. I think it was just probably after the credits, and it kind of just goes up, and you see this like outline of trees, and then you see the coast.
Yes, yeah.
And that outline was just a cardboard cutout. Was it? Yeah.
You just like that?
Yeah, it was just a cardboard cutout, but you don't know it because it was just all completely black. You just think it's the outline silhouette of the trees in the foreground, and you see the coast and the beach area below it. But that was just a cardboard cutout. It was just some of the tricks they did, in-camera tricks and stuff.
Well, as I say, the location of the lighthouse, whether they put in
that's
steps,
brilliant. That lighthouse is probably the best lighthouse ever.
And as you say, that whether the film crew built the staircase down there.
No, that's real. All real, yeah. Yeah, that was amazing that they found that lighthouse. I mean, it was probably like maybe 40, 50 miles up the coast from other areas, and it was all. It's not all in the one area, because like the church, the lane up to the church, it was actually in LA, believe it or not. So I know. So and then obviously the other parts was way up coast, Northern California. That was it was the same bay that Hitchcock filmed The Birds.
Oh, right.
Bodega Bay, I think it was called. And then there was like the lighthouse was further away than that. So I mean, it was all spread out, but they managed to make it look like it was confined in the same area.
Well, there's that scene that the character Stevie Wayne, she's driving, and for a moment you think it's actually Ireland. You know, she's driving that convertible. She's going up, and the coastline. Really, you think you thought you were in Europe.
Yeah, that's wild. That lighthouse was way up northern California, probably like almost Oregon area kind of thing. So,
right.
So the fishermen get killed. So what it is, they get like they've got radar, sonar or something, and it says we've got a boat. It's massive, so I know. And then you've seen this like what was it, kind of like a schooner, like a tall ship with masts and stuff. Just suddenly, but you only see parts of it, but it's quite well done. And then obviously the fog engulfs them, and they get killed off by the ghostly figures from the ship.
Although my only quibble with that is the kind of the door should have opened straight away, because you've got the ghost having to open it twice, and it's like, no, if it was a ghost, it opened perfectly. It's like, because that just took me out just a tiny bit, because it should almost like by magic just go. What was that? Figure walks through. What
was it? The last person that gets killed was in the boat at this kind of, I don't know, the steering wheel or whatever it's called, something. And one of the ghosts comes in, and he's like squelching something, and he says something like, "Was are you wet or something like that?" Then comes out, and he doesn't look around, sort of. I know, he just because he's still looking ahead, sort of. I know. So the three people get killed almost immediately, and then we cut to was it a kid running on the beach
on the beach, and then sees a gold coin, and then it seems to get washed away, and then a piece of driftwood, but it's got Dane on it, so that's from the ship.
Yeah. So that I'm quite curious how they did that, because there doesn't seem to be any cuts. I've seen the wave go over it and come over and retreat back, and then the coins goes, and then they've got the bit of driftwood. So I know,
unless it's a piece of fishing twine.
Maybe when they had to pull it, and then
you
push the wood in. So probably it's probably some sort of kind of practice would need to be done just to get it perfect timing for that.
Yeah.
But so this kid goes running to his mum, who's got this pretty good setup of a house on the beach.
Exactly, all from doing one radio show a day. That's the thing.
Yeah, and he busts in and says, "Mom, look what I found! I found this cool piece of driftwood." So I know, and she's obviously. I mean, what time did she finish? I mean, she only starts about.
She starts at 6 in the evening, and then as it
finishes
at
1 or 2
1 o'clock.
or 1 o'clock,
and then her program's the night light. That's the show. So whether it is just easy listening plus giving weather reports, probably. But once again, it's not 100% what exactly she's doing a show in a lighthouse, but not exactly. Yeah.
Well, she's got a good voice for it. So, she's obviously a bit pissed because she's got woken up, never got a long lie, and this is where the kid goes, "Mom, can I get a stomach pounder and a Coke?" What the fuck is a stomach pounder and a Coke?
I think a stomach pounder must be a hamburger.
Okay,
I would say it's a hamburger. Once again, it's like
for breakfast.
Well, once again,
maybe it wasn't breakfast because maybe that was probably in the middle of the day. Because he probably sleeps in.
Yeah, well, obviously the town's gearing up for the centenary, but it's. I think what John Carpenter is good at. You would think that this was the last village on the town on the planet, because you don't get the sense that
there's nothing out
there's
beyond
nothing
beyond this area,
and that's what he's really good at, creating this idea that that this where, and if you compare Jaws, once again on a coastal village, you get an idea of the community, you get the idea of how many hundreds of people are there milling about. When it comes to Antonio Bay, it's just those people there. That's it. You don't get a sense, and even the crowd's fairly small, because
it's a pretty crap ceremony, isn't it?
I mean, probably what you would do is you would then almost like a Chief Brody kind of thing for the fog. You would have had somebody, maybe Stevie, driving through the town and waving to people as she's going to, and then you get the sense of scale and size. Because if this is going to be like a centenary presentation of unveiling of you get a little bit of that with Janet Leigh, but you don't get the size of scale, I suppose.
Yeah. So this is that's one of the selling points in the movie, that you had Jamie Lee Curtis and Janet Leigh in the same movie. That was quite a big thing at that time, was it?
Yes, but not necessarily in the same scenes.
No,
or related. It just so happens to be in.
Yeah. So so basically, was it? No, we actually missed the part. Before that, Tom Atkins is driving his truck in at night, just when the shit just happens to, and Jamie Lee Curtis is hitchhiking, and Tom Atkins picks her up, and this is where the line, "Are you weird? Can I ask you something? Are you weird?" And he's like, "Yes, I am weird." Yeah. Thank fuck you're weird stuff. I know, the last guy, blah, 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 blah. And then he's like, "Oh, I thought you said you never hitchhiked before." And he was like, "Oh, this is my 13th." Weird and unlucky. And then they hit it off after that, and he bangs her later on.
Well, see, that's the thing, because I hadn't seen it, and then I thought that, once again, I hadn't seen the film, so I thought they were going to be going into town. I didn't realise all of a sudden, because obviously he looked older at the time. And then next scene, they're in the living room,
But they did get hit because the windscreen or the windows just suddenly explode for no reason.
Yes.
So I know, which obviously scares the shit out of her. And he was like, "Oh, if you're really scared, you can come back to my place and we can bang." So I know. So yeah. So basically, he's like lying in bed with her. And he's looking at her artwork. Similarly, she's quite a decent artist. Maybe a bit like Leo DiCaprio in Titanic, showing off his sketches of women with one legs and stuff like that. Yeah. So basically, we're up to. So I think what Nancy Loomis character, she was also in Halloween. And she's like the assistant to Janet Leigh, and they go up to see Father Malone, and this is where we get the story.
Yes,
we've got that great jump scare. So they go up, the doors open. They go, "Oh, this doesn't look good," and they go in. No, nothing's. There's not a mouse stirring. Church is dark, and they're looking at Father Malone, and then he just seems to spring out of the darkness and just grab her shoulder. Just it's brilliantly done. It's just
as I say, he's a master of misdirect. But then it then becomes, I think in the first half of the film, there's too much of that misdirect that it goes quiet. And then all of a sudden, a radio will fall and comes on, or like people, or something will smash.
What about John Carpenter's little cameo as the workman?
What
was his character? It was his radio that got smashed.
Oh, was it?
Can't remember his name. The character, but he's "Father, can I get paid now?" And he's like, "Oh, could you come back at 6? No, could you come back at 4? That's 2 or something." And he says, "Father, can I get paid now? Could you come back at 6 then tomorrow?" Someone. Would you like some wine?
I know,
And
of
then he
course.
fucks off.
But then, as I say, Hal Holbrook. As I say, it's a strange that on the I don't know if whether it's on the, but definitely it's on the DVD cover that he's not mentioned in the titles. You know? Yeah. That I always used to get confused between Hal Holbrook and Murray Hamilton because they more or less play the same. You know, if you can't get Murray Hamilton, obviously the mayor in Jaws, get Hal Holbrook because, you know, whether it's Capricorn 1 or whether it's Dirty Harry, you know, they're really good at or Brubaker or stuff like that. They all play the same kind of, you know, characters. Yeah.
Sadly, Murray Hamilton died just a few years later. Remember, I think he was getting sized up for Jaws: The Revenge, but he didn't make it. He died just before production. So, yeah.
And then Hal Holbrook, he was nominated. He was one of the oldest until Christopher Plummer. But he was nominated for Best Supporting Actor. It was Into the Wild.
Yeah, that's a really good movie. That's the one
based on the true story. Yeah,
yeah, where the kid goes off to, was it Alaska or something, and tries to live wild and then dies.
And dies, and we don't know whether it was the mushrooms or not. But once again, there's people who've tried to find that bus and almost met a similar fate as well, because that thing's right out the middle of nowhere. You either need, if it's not grizzlies, it'll be dehydration or something will get you. You know?
Yeah. So obviously this is where Father Malone tells the story that obviously at that particular time the night before when kind of the shit happens, this is when obviously the wall kind of brick fell out of the wall and uncovered this ancient, well not ancient but 100-year-old book or diary of his ancestor. Was it Grandfather Malone? Is it?
Something like that. Which, once again, whether it's too inconvenient, there's too much.
How did that happen? Because obviously, I was brought up Catholic. How did that happen? Because it's obviously you're not really meant to have kids, basically. So I know. So unless he was a father, and then he kind of got disavowed or something, and then defrocked, and then became a normal person, and then had kids, family, and then his grandson became a priest.
Once again, it's probably down to cost, but I probably would have had the journal would tell you where the cross of the gold was, rather than have it in the same hole, because the first thing you would do is once the journal fell out, you would see if there's anything else in there.
So basically the story is Blake has a leper colony, and they're on an island somewhere, but they gave the community gold to buy some land that was close by to Antonio Bay, which were probably just a couple of huts at that time. So I know because it was 100 years ago. And they didn't. The townspeople kind of pulled their nose up at that, so they didn't want like a leper colony on our doorstep. So when they were coming on the ship, they deliberately set up lights on. Well, this is kind of related to the story that John Houseman said in the prologue as well. And so basically, they obviously got the bearings wrong. And they crashed ashore, and they're probably like these land pirates. They probably just gone on and basically killed them or something, did they?
Yeah, well, they drowned, and then they did that deliberately. They set up the campfires, or the lights to lure them onto the rocks, thinking that it's going to be safe. And as they came on, and then knowing that would happen, take the gold. And then this is the centenary to mark the founding of Antonio Bay, with probably the gold that was used that was on the ship.
We're honouring murderers.
We're honouring murderers.
But they never used the gold to do anything other than just do a giant cross or something.
See, that's once.
Spoilers a lot. Okay.
See, once again, that's the thing. We're talking about Tower of Evil in the script. There'd be a lot of that stuff that doesn't quite make sense. That gold would have been
spent long ago.
Well, but also, why put it into a cross? It's one of those ones where, obviously, maybe John Carpenter, he filmed it. You think, wait a minute, that's too convenient that it's there. Why is it there? Like, oh no, how am I going to get out of this?
Maybe Grandfather Malone didn't tell the townspeople at the time, and he took the gold, and then he kind of got, Catholic guilt. I'm not going to spend it. I'm just going to make a giant cross out of it and stick it in the church, hidden behind the wall.
See, I think filmically, what you would have wanted is you wanted to have the cross, but it's there in the church hanging up, covered in wood, and then they discover that it's there rather than it's in there, and that makes
more like in plain sight kind of thing.
Yeah. Absolutely, in plain sight. And they lost the gold; they don't know where it is, and then it's actually in the church, and that explains. Yeah, but a lot of these things are probably, but perhaps right. We want to make a cross out of solid gold. To say right, but then that story strand disappears, and it's like, oh no, we've painted ourselves in the corner. We've got a gold cross, but we haven't got the reason why it's like that, because that's in a different draft, or it's
that gold cross was massive, and it would weigh an absolute fucking ton, just to move that about.
Well, I wonder who
if it was real gold.
I wonder who's got it as a prop.
The prop, I wonder. Yeah. But so basically, we'll go back to Tom Atkins' character, who I just remembered is Nick Castle. Now, you know the story of Nick Castle.
Well, I've heard the name. I know Thingy Castle, the film director, but Nick Castle is...
Yeah. Well, he is a film director, The Last Starfighter and stuff, but Nick Castle played Michael Myers, the Shape, in Halloween for John Carpenter.
Yeah.
This is why he plays with names again. He always does this.
He plays, obviously, Dr. Phibes and all these. And obviously, this was before the internet, so I don't know when somebody would see the first
There's probably
credits.
Like Easter eggs in John Carpenter movies then, huh?
Yeah. So I don't know whether or not if you went to the cinema and there was a program, or if you worked in the cinema and they gave you like a wee press release, and then you could read the names, because I don't think your average member of the public would know get the Easter eggs, because most people
only the nerds would get that sort of thing. Yeah. So basically, Nick Castle basically played Michael Myers, the Shape, in the first Halloween movie, and seemingly by everybody loved him. He was a bit of a goofy character in real life, obviously, and he went on to become quite a successful film director. I think I picked up The Last Starfighter in a 3 for something sale on Amazon, and this was directed by Nick Castle, and this is a movie I haven't seen since I was a child, so I don't know what this is like still today, but he became like a film director in his right, even like Tommy Lee Wallace, is it?
Oh yes, Tommy Lee Wallace
became a director, and he was another guy worked with Carpenter as well. So there's where Carpenter playing with names again. So the character played by Tom Atkins in The Fog is Nick Castle. There we go. Yeah. So he's looking for his mate, who incidentally was one of the 3 people that got killed on the boat the night before, who incidentally was the husband of Janet Leigh's character, Miss Town Busybody, as well, who doesn't seem to be too really that too upset. He's just like, he's probably just got drunk and kind of stuff, and she's too busy embroiled in her civic duties and doing the centenary celebration and stuff.
That's the thing when it comes to films, about it's the stakes, about how, how high are the stakes, how as you say, it's, people haven't, how invested are you? These people are missing, and it's like, as you say, if the wife is like, oh, I'm sure he'll turn up. It's like, but then sometimes the audience is like, well, if she's not bothered, I don't think I'm bothered with this character.
So the only person who seems to give a shit is Nick Castle, played by Tom Atkins, who goes off to check with the other fishermen, and they're like, kind of, you worry too much and blah 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 blah, and then so he gets a friend to give him get a boat out, and he takes his Jamie Lee Curtis. So seemingly they're a bit of a partnership now, basically, after picking her up the night before, and they go off and they see is it the seagrass? The seagrass, and they see it's just so they go off and board the boat, and at first they don't see anything. Spookily, it's like the ship's dry as a bone, but the motor in the boat was
flooded,
like it was flooded or something, and it's like it's like seawater. It's like it was being turned upside down and put back right again or something. But then, so they don't find any bodies at first. But then there's the jump scare scene where they're just sitting.
Yes, yeah, because
beside some lockers on a boat.
Yeah, they're sitting beside some lockers, and the locker, it looks as if there's something in the locker, and then it pops open, and it looks like fluorescent tubes or maps fall out, and they go, oh. And then that's when
the double jump scare.
The body then falls on the back of Jamie Lee Curtis, and it's like, Carpenter, you did it again.
Yeah,
the misdirect.
So then, so they found. Did they find all the bodies? Just one of the bodies?
Well,
just one? Was it one body?
It was just the one body. And watching it, I actually thought that the kind of pirates, they once they killed somebody, they then brought them into their a bit like Pirates of the Caribbean. They then brought them into their crew. But obviously that's not the case.
So basically the doctor or autopsy doctor, everybody seems to know each other at this town. Everybody seems to be related or something. And
and as he's chatting with the coroner, that's when old Tommy goes, "Oh, it's got cold in here. You think it's got cold?" And then Jamie Lee is. She's left alone with the body, and then the body starts to become reanimated, which was a reshoot by John Carpenter. He reshot you know what? It could almost be a kind of an idea from Friday the 13th, not Friday the 13th, Halloween. This idea of the body coming up again. Yeah.
So So after some spiel about I saw blah blah 3 nights ago, and he was alive, and I pulled him out, and I've just checked him, and he looks like he's been
in the water
for the last 6 weeks or something, like that. So doesn't make any sense. Incidentally, the guy that played the doctor was in Assault on Precinct 13.
Ah, right.
So there's it's kind of the little kind of pact of reusable characters that John Carpenter does, and so basically the body reanimates, like you said, and gets up and then falls, and then he scrolls 3 on the floor.
Yeah, which I don't think is quite obvious to the audience, that it's like 6.
Yeah,
people, that it's like, this is 3, because it just looks as if, because if you don't know it's a 3, you think, oh, he's tried to write something. I wouldn't thought that was a 3.
Could be like a pair of tits or something.
Maybe
You didn't get time to do the nipples on them or something.
Yes.
But so basically that happened, and I'm trying to think what happened after that. Immediately after that, probably like Stevie. Well, basically Stevie Wayne goes to work the next day.
Yeah,
but
because
she,
everybody's talking about how the time went
Yeah.
mad. Things were stopped, clocks were stopped, and things were smashed up. And then she's going to the radio station and leaving her kid at home with kind of housekeeper.
Mrs. Colbert.
Colbert's, yes.
Yeah. So basically she goes off to work and has a nice pleasant drive in the countryside of Ireland by the looks of it. And she plays some classical music, and then she goes. She's obviously got some records, and she goes to Lighthouse, and she has to go down like 300 steps to get to the actual lighthouse. Is on this tip of the cliff. It's pretty. The actual cinematography, the way the shots just aligned, the composition of the shot is quite well done. But I mean, it's Dean Cundy, so you expect that.
And of course, it was filmed in 1979, but it doesn't feel like a 70s film. It feels like an 80s film, you know.
Mm. So she goes off to work and gets started, and then she has I think the another character we've kind of missed out is Dan the weatherman. Dan weatherman,
who has the hots for Stevie.
Yeah, and he's got quite a nifty kind of turtleneck jersey as well. He seems to wear as well.
Yeah, well, and once again, the scene when they say, "Oh no, the fog's coming," it is almost like the fog bank, because it's like there's no fog here, and then behind them you see the fog coming through across the window, and then there's scenes like that which just on the cusp of being a parody, but just manages to save it.
Yeah, so Dan was meant to take the night off to go to the centenary celebrations, but he just couldn't help himself, and he wants to take the shift so he can talk to Stevie Wayne. He's getting a bit of a problem there. So basically, they have like a conversation that you're wrong or something about the fog. It was moving, blah blah here. Exactly. So I know this direction, and he says, "Well, but I checked the wind gauge, and the wind was blowing this way direction. Yeah. So what type of fog goes against the wind?" So I know, so basically, she's given us some sort of report of the seagrass was found, and then she mentions the fog. Don't get lost in the fog. Blah blah blah, and then it kind of clicks to Nick Castle, who's funny enough in the pub, and this is like a trait with Tom Atkins. He's always drinking. When he's in his pickup truck, he's drinking beer. Even in Halloween 3, he's when he goes off to Colonel Cochrane's place, he's got a 6-pack of beer, driving and gulping beer. So he always seems to be drinking beer. And so basically, something triggers in his brain when Stevie Wayne mentions the fog and the seagrass going missing. He's like, she rings her up and says, "You mentioned the fog," and then it says, "Yeah, that's when everything went to shit last night." Sort of, I know, and he's kind of putting 2 and 2 together. So.
Well, and of course, he had that. There was a stranger at the door when he was with Jamie Lee in their house.
Yeah,
there was a knock, which isn't quite obvious that it's one of the kind of pirate sailors. At the start, but then as you say, he puts two and two together to think, well, wait a minute, and then tries to get the sheriff to come down.
Potential plot hole. I mean, if it's 6 relations of the conspirators, was Tom Atkins a relation? Because why would they knock at his door then? Or does this piss him off him?
Well, that's how sometimes in the novelisation people can maybe tidy up things that are in the script. I'm sure that answers. There's the novelisation of, say, The Spy Who Loved Me actually mentions Jaws' real name, you know, and all this sort of stuff. There's novelisation of it just so happens another James Bond film, GoldenEye, tells you what the factory they were making a chemical weapon that would thin the blood. That's the reason why the Pierce Brosnan goes into and blows up that factory at the start of GoldenEye. All these little things, all these, and I'm sure you've read novelisations over the years that answers just little bits of information which perhaps were in the script that they didn't film, and that the person who's writing the novelisation thinks, "Oh, that's good."
Probably somebody like Alan. Was his name Alan Foster? Darren Dean Foster.
Darren Dean Foster
He does a lot of novelisation for movies, isn't he?
Oh, and I have to mention that The Fog, John Carpenter's The Fog, has absolutely nothing to do with James Herbert. The Fog.
You know what? I know that because I've read James Herbert The Fog, and you know what? After seeing The Fog, John Carpenter's The Fog so many times, I was disappointed with James Herbert's The Fog because it's not even a fog. It's like some bloody gas that comes out of the ground or something. It's not even the fog, so it's a bit misleading. It is misleading,
although the cover, the famous cover of, I think the 80s cover of the head.
And it's got like a sickle or something, yeah.
And once again, that probably...
that looks like something like The Fog.
That looks like something a John Carpenter thing.
I think that obviously they're probably just trying to, obviously with the release of The Fog in the early 80s, they probably just did that on purpose, I would think.
I probably, as I say, leave enough wiggle room just to say, no, we didn't...
It's not... It's more like science fiction or something.
Yes,
It's not like an old-fashioned ghost story. It's a village where a big crack appears in the ground, and there's yellowy musty gas comes, and it turns people into kind of like zombie type things, and then there's like a whole apocalyptic thing. The whole of London becomes infected and stuff. It's almost like the end of Life Force or something. It gets kind of big, so I know. But
it came out when it was published 1975.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
So absolute, even though it's got the same name, it's absolute nothing to do. One's got nothing to do with the other. So I know.
Yeah.
So basically, they're in the pub, and what happens after the pub then?
The phone. Phones the sheriff. The sheriff's to come in and.
Oh yeah, he's at the ceremony. So he comes in. So I know, and I can't try to think of the next part of the story.
Because as I say, it cuts back between the father. Is it Father? No, not Father O'Leary.
Father Malone.
Father Malone, and he's reading more parts of the book, and he wants to. Oh no, wait, yeah, and all this, the journal.
Yeah. So I think it probably gets dark pretty much soon after that. I think they have you see some of the ceremony.
That's the power.
The power goes out.
Yes, the power the fog starts to drift in, and obviously Stevie starts saying to people, "Look, you need to get to kind of higher ground," and then the fog starts coming inland, knocks out the power plant, and then she thinks, obviously, she thinks she's safe, but the fog then starts coming over the mountains. And
So she's kind of giving directions of what the fog's doing over the radio waves, and
but because the power's cut out, not many people are able to hear her on the radio. And as you say, that there is one
unless you're driving,
and also I think that there's an assumption that if I hadn't seen you think that the Tom. Nick Castle character is going to be going. They're all going to make a final stand at the lighthouse, but no, we're not making a final stand at the lighthouse.
No, so basically, Stevie Wayne kind of gets a bit worried about her child, and she's like going. if you can go to my address and pick up my child, sort of, I know.
Yeah, and then that's when Nick, they start to hear that, and they make their way down to...
Nick Castle's probably
Nick Castle.
thinking, I could bang her as well. If I save a child, I can bang her as well. So they've got the Mrs. Colbridge bit where they get the knock at the door, and she's going, go in your room, I'll check it out, sort of, I know. But when she opens the door, she actually steps right out. She could just pop the head out or something, but she actually walks right out and gets killed. But obviously the kid doesn't see that,
No.
and he closes the door. But then they
start to come in and then break down the door. But which is, once again, it's the kind of, in the Nick Castle, they don't break the door. But then in the other scenes, at the other houses, breaking the door, coming in. There's a wee bit of inconsistency as regards, that, well, wait a minute, do they just knock and go away, or they only kill you if you open the door, and as you say, they come in and they're starting to smash the door down, they're coming in.
So Nick Castle and Jamie Lee Curtis, who's kind of a bit of a... she's a bit of a side character. She's just kind of she doesn't have really a fleshed out role. She's just there because she's Jamie Lee Curtis. And he comes in super speed, like Starsky and Hutch, and manages, these Blake's zombie corpses move so slow that he's managed to pull up, run, gets to the other side of the house, break the window and pull the kid out before they get to him. So.
And then, of course, get to the pickup truck.
Mm-hmm. So basically, they save the kid, but unfortunately, Mrs. Colbridge passes. Unfortunately, so was she? So what was that? So that's so basically, you got the three on the ship. You got Dan. Oh, we missed out Dan.
All right, Dan.
So basically, Dan's. Obviously, Stevie Wayne's on the radio, on the phone to Dan, says, Dan, get out.
The fog's coming, and just almost at the minute he says, there's no fog here, you start seeing the fog machine going behind him.
You see the light shining through, because it's got this luminous quality to it. And then he's on the phone trying to act tough, like saying, there's some plonker knocking on my door, and they're not going to like what they see, and then he goes out and gets killed.
Because as the guy he's taking over from the shift has already left. Now, whether he's been
that wasn't meant to be his shift. He swapped shifts so he can talk to Stevie Wayne.
But whether that character...
So Stevie Wayne got him killed.
Stevie Wayne. So
you got the stealing the ship, you got Dan, and then you got Mrs. Colbridge. So that's five.
So there's just one. But I'm wondering whether or not that John Carpenter, because if you make it 6, maybe the audience starts to lose. And well, no, maybe not. Maybe you should have been more, because then we don't know if the 6th is going to be Stevie Wayne or the 6th are going to be Father.
I think it should have been 666 people that get killed. So.
But then, that's those little things where, you need to, if it's going to be 6 conspirators, you need to almost do that thing, but from the start, rather than have the guy scroll the 3. It's like, well, we don't. Maybe that
seems a bit, after 100 years. That's a bit poor. I think they could have gone bigger. Blake could have gone a bit bigger with his revenge.
That's yeah. So so as I say, the mist starts coming over, and into Stevie saying get to the church because that's high ground.
Yeah.
But then just as she's seeing it, the fog is coming over the top of the kind of cliff.
Quite well done as well.
Down into the lighthouse. Although it's gone the long way, because it's gone from the sea inland, up, round, and back down into where the lighthouse is. Yeah, well, it's got to hide Blake and his cronies, so they're walking on the road something. Yeah, that's the thing. So we'll cut to Janet Leigh's character. Can't remember what her name is, but Nancy Loomis, her secretary,
basically she's I know you find me annoying, but I know you're a little bit annoying, sort of. I know. So kind of like say, yes, Mrs. Blah 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 blah. Sort of, I know, but so they're back in the car after the ceremony, which goes down quite well, I believe, and they put on the radio to get some music on. So I know, and then all they hear is Stevie Wayne mouthing off.
But see, that's the thing, because there's that thing about John Carpenter making it, because you've got this whole town full of people, but the fog only seems to be affecting
certain people,
about say 10 people, because like the street is empty. Now, maybe that's the idea of you could John Carpenter could explain. Oh yeah, everybody's at the parade or the vigil, but as you say, that it does seem what you want is to create a big scale to the whole town, where some filmmakers, if you're not right on it, it does seem very small scale, small stakes, where it's like, you know, the ghosts, the bodies are only coming after. You know, you want to make it feel huge. You know,
I think probably half the people probably just fucked off home to go to bed because of boring bastards, probably. But I think that most of the men would probably just go straight to the pub and get blitzed. So
see, that's the thing. The only people who seem to be concerned are those kind of handful of like 10 people, and the rest, you know, because you're not seeing the reactions of the other townsfolk. You know, you're not even seeing lots of cars leaving. It's just but obviously that's a budget restraint, or it's just a creative restraint. It's not till you put it together think, oh yeah, there isn't a lot of people in this this town.
Yeah, it's like kind of Ogmiffy or something. So basically, basically Stevie Wayne encourages whoever's listening to get up to the old church on the hill, because it's the highest part of the ground, sort of. I know, that's not engulfed in the fog, and so basically you got Tom Atkins, Jamie Lee Curtis, and the kid in the car making their way up there, and you've also got Janet Leigh and Nancy Loomis in the other car, and basically the only ones that get there basically after that, is it? So I know.
Yes, that's it.
So basically they all come together at the church, which is basically Father Malone's just getting pissed on wine, basically. So
and then that's when they start to they start to break.
The good scene with the windows, the hands coming through the windows and stuff like.
And they're starting to come through, and then he talks about the gold or the gold, and then that's when he decides to think, oh, perhaps there's something.
He's missing something. Yeah,
you hadn't had a look, and that's where I at that point thought either he knew where it was, or in the journal it would say the gold was in the cross, but then he goes back to the hole in the wall, and then starts to pull the stones out, and it was there, and it's like, yeah, that's a convenience that it's there, or you hadn't thought to look in there.
Yeah.
I think, as you say, it's the time. I think there's so much happening in such a short space of time. You would need maybe a couple of 3 days of this thing to lead in, a bit like the Jaws. We're leading up to like Labour Day or 4th of July, where you get a sense of momentum, sense of impending doom, or something. But so he goes there, pulls the hole, and gets the gold out of the. But then they leave the journal, and they need the journal. So Tom Atkins goes out to get the journal to bring it back in again.
Yeah, and while this is happening, we're cut to Stevie Nicks, who's basically the power. Stevie Wayne, sorry, Stevie Nicks. Yeah, well, almost there. And she basically, obviously the power goes out, sort of thing, and she's trying to get the generator up and running, and doesn't work. And basically that's when she gets a knock at the door as well, and you see the fog coming through, and I think the fog comes through and then kind of cuts out the generator, basically, because the special power it has. And basically she gets kind of cornered on top of the roof
Yeah, well,
of the lighthouse.
well, she gets she sees the fog coming, so she goes outside, and then sees the figure inside, and then starts going on the roof. But then the two figures start coming up onto the top of the lighthouse, which I thought was going to play a bigger part. I thought somehow a bit like the blinds in the end of Dracula in the Hammer horror. I thought she was going to put the lighthouse light back on, and that was somehow going to burn all the fog, and that's how the fog was going to disappear. That wasn't to be. So she's on there, and does she get stabbed in the neck or stabbed in the shoulder by something?
I mean, she's like clambering on, and then she keeps on sliding down, and then you got that close up of one of the
faces,
the face with the worms and the maggots and stuff. So I know. Rob Bottin's work there, who actually plays Blake at the end as well. Yeah. So that's happening. So she's got her own problems, and then cut back to Father Malone, and he's got the idea that he'll give back the gold to Blake, and everything will be okay.
Yeah, which once again in a different scenario. Father O'Malley would have known the gold, would have kept the gold, and then says, "Oh no, we're going to have to give the gold away." And that, as I say, he goes out and says, "Blake, this is your gold. This is your gold, Blake." And he comes up.
He wants to sacrifice himself as well. Look, I'm the sixth conspirator here. Take me, so I know.
But as I say, he's fallen on hard times. He's drinking, but once again, it's too quick. That thing that being the sacrifice. That idea of I'm going to sacrifice myself. But so he says, "Look, take me," and then Blake holds on to the gold cross. It starts to heat up, and then Nick Castle comes and pulls off
Father Malone.
Pulls him away from the the gold cross, and then.
They vanish or something, or just disappear.
They just seem to vanish.
Yeah, and then it does that that part. It does that thing at the end of Halloween where you see different scenes and you think that's the end of it. So I know you see different parts of the town. Everything seems to be getting back to normal. Atmosphere, a bit of atmosphere, and then Father Malone's just say, "Why not me? Blake, why not me?"
The sixth or the sixth conspirator, or the sixth, or something like that.
Yeah, and then basically Blake comes back and he's behind him,
or somebody's in front of him. He turns around and then he turns around again. Turns around to,
and then you get that shot where you see Blake kind of hack him down. So I know, but it's quite well done. So I know the way it's filmed, even the way they light up the cross. Similarly, I was watching the documentary where there was no special effects. They just kind of strategically shone a light on the gold cross. Oh, right. And it was just the way the camera was, and they even did that with Blake's eyes as well. It's just the way they shone the light on the eyes just to get it to flare up.
See, that's the thing. If you use kind of reflective, the cheaper way, I suppose it's like there was when they had the lightsabers, when they had the tape, and if you went turn your wrist that way, it looked as if it was going, that was the way you on the reflective tape or something it would show. And as I say, sometimes the simplest ones to think, oh, you must have the LED lights. No, there's no LED lights. Or I actually thought for the cross, what they did was they made like a perspex one, that was white. So you cut from one cross and it's a light, so it looks as if it's glowing. But
it was just in camera light trickery that did it, and it was looks still pretty good today. Looks pretty well done. And basically because all movies, as soon as it's finished, there's no epilogue or anything. It just basically goes straight to credits, and that's the end of it. So
it goes straight to credit, and so you're left with a lot of unanswered, or a lot of, and that's why it takes you a couple of days or a couple of views to watch it, because you're left you're left with, it's like that's it, and it's left you a lot of unanswered questions.
But that, because obviously cinema go is more intelligent 30 years, 40 years ago.
Well,
where now they have to spell everything out, and just it's just annoying.
yeah, because I think originally it was going to be coming out in was it December. It was going to be coming out in December, and ended up coming out in the February. Yeah, so originally it was going to be, I don't know if it was going to be a Christmas movie. Well, not a Christmas movie, but come out.
The Fog.
Yeah, The Fog come out at Christmas. Obviously, thankfully, he didn't have any Christmas trees or stuff like that, though. You know.
I mean, maybe if it was produced by Joel Silver, it might add some Christmas theme in there. So I know, like Lethal Weapon and Die Hard and stuff like that.
I don't know if Action Jackson is set at Christmas.
I don't think so. No. I think maybe was there any Christmas stuff in The Last Boy Scout? I can't remember.
I don't know, but and the thing he likes to do that, doesn't he? Shane Black.
Yeah.
So Shane Black set obviously what did he say? Kiss Kiss Bang Bang.
Mm-hmm.
That's set at kind of Christmas. Obviously, thingy. What do you call Iron Man 3 is set at Christmas as well.
So that's The Fog. I've just remembered something when he took Stevie Wayne, not Stevie Nicks, when Stevie Nicks took the piece of drift. She actually took this piece of driftwood to the lighthouse for some reason.
Oh, yes, now that is one of the effective things, because she has this dry piece of driftwood on the desk.
Yeah.
And then out of nowhere, once again, a bit of trickery, whether it's a pump or whatever, the words Dane, all the seawater or water starts to seep out from the wood onto the mixing desk. And then you get to hear a snippet of some sort of demonic voice coming, whether that's from the Blake or whatever, about shoes or something.
Like Six Must Die or something.
See, once again, I don't think that was made quite clear enough. Well, once again, I think in the cinema you need to, is it twice or three times you need to say something, in order for the audience to pick up on it.
Probably need it like 10 times for me. So yeah. So So that was quite it was quite like that. There's also the kind of TARDIS effect for the lighthouse, because if you look at the outside of the lighthouse and then when she's inside the lighthouse, it looks like it's twice as big, or even bigger than that, something like that.
But then that's the thing about only in the movies can you live in a huge apartment, a big studio apartment or something like that, which there's no way you could afford anything like that. And some people do watch films or TV programs now to say, no, somebody at that have that job couldn't afford. But for for entertainment, you buy it. Yeah, that person lives in that kind of flat.
So basically, like I said, there was a lot of teething problems with the production as well. Obviously, Carpenter didn't like the first draft of the production and had to reshoot probably like 30. Well, not reshoot, but just add probably like an extra 30% of post-production.
Obviously he added the morgue, the kind of autopsy, and then he added the kind of fight on top of the lighthouse as well.
Yeah, I think he kind of just re-edited it, kind of made it a bit quicker, sort of. I know, and obviously redid the score. I would like to be quite interested to hear what his original score was and see how bad it was. But he said it was really bad, so I know, and he had to give himself a kick up the arse to try and make it sound better. But I think the score and the atmosphere just complements the mood of the movie. So
yes, yeah, but as I say, a little Carpenter goes a long way as regards to his scores. Some people absolutely adore each one, and other ones are like, I like that one, and that's the only one I like.
Yeah. Well, like his Halloween one finger, theme. But I mean, it does the job, and it's so recognisable. I mean, it's like when you look at like your Jaws, like when he was telling Spielberg, I've got this great idea for the score. Listen, and then Spielberg was looking at him and saying, "What the fuck is that?" So I know.
Well, but that's it. But then if John Williams had a cello player to say, "Look, come here, look this," but being on the piano going ding, 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 I think, what's it? You're not playing on the piano, are you?
Yeah. Yeah, so I mean, and it's probably, it makes, Jaws is a great movie. I mean, that's another movie had production hell. I think it was Verna Fields, the editor. She basically, Spielberg says she saved that movie because they just thought they didn't have anything. It was a complete mess, and she managed to put together like a jigsaw puzzle and make a movie out of it. Seemingly, so.
Yeah. I see.
Spielberg thought that was going to be the end of his career. He just thought he was never going to work in the business again after that.
If you've got a creative editor who's on your side, who can fix stuff, who's got who's got like a shape for a film to say, I can shape this thing. Yeah, and obviously you've got the footage there, or as I say, the music as well, and you think, I can shape something here, you know. In some ways, maybe let the film breathe to say, look, we just need that. Where sometimes people want, I want either dialogue all the time or action. It's like, well, no, you need to, it's like a patchwork, you know, and then you could, not all the time, but sometimes you can create, there's magic there, to say, oh, we had filmed this, but we couldn't use it, all right, but so we just went straight to this scene and said, oh, that's the best part. Well, that's filmmaking, isn't it?
Yeah. I think, Spielberg says that he was almost fired multiple times shooting Jaws, and basically, if it wasn't for Miss Fields basically getting the dailies or the rushes or whatever it's called, and then editing them quickly so they can give them to the studio, the producers, to see, look, this is good stuff we're doing. So basically, yeah. But after that, and it became, was that what we call the original blockbuster Jaws, would you think?
I think that's when people talk about summer blockbuster.
So what about The Exorcist was before that, was it? So, that was kind of a blockbuster, was it?
But I think that's Jaws is seen as the first summer blockbuster.
Summer blockbuster.
So
whether... And that kind of set the trend for other summer blockbusters after that. Yeah.
To release films at the...
But that was the rule at the time, was films was the summer was a bad time for films because people were outside enjoying the sun's shining and didn't want to stay in and watch or go to a dark miserable cold cinema to watch a movie during the summer.
Well, see,
that kind of broke a trend there, did it?
Yeah, it broke a trend. But then when you and I were growing up, Gary, that the problem with that was the trend was kind of set, and then you knew that the only decent films you got, big films, were either summer or at Christmas. It's slightly changed now that you'll get a variation of big and small films released throughout the year. But when we were growing up, it was only, summer and usually another big one at Christmas, and that was it. There was everything else there was a desert. And
if it was released about January, February, you knew it was just trying to get it out, and probably a load of shit, wasn't it?
Yeah, and now I think probably because they make so many big films. You look at the Marvel that we might have one in February, one summer, then one at kind of Christmas, and spread them out.
Just never got into that. So I think I stopped at Spider-Man 2. That's a Sam Raimi one. So I know. I think I stopped at that. So I just gave up on that. But I think the last superhero movie I got really excited about was probably 89's Batman. Probably.
Yeah.
From my own personal perspective.
Yeah. I think so.
Yeah. So that was our double bill, our Lighthouse double bill. Disclaimer: not to be confused with if you're tuning in wondering when we're going to talk about Robert Pattinson, is it?
Yes, and
We aren't.
no, it's not. It's not that the Willem Dafoe.
Yeah, the one that he farts a lot. Is that the one? I think he farts in that quite a bit, does he? So no.
What in the light? I see. He's always talking about. Is it me lobster? You love me lobster.
He's a nice guy, William Dafoe, in real life.
Yeah.
I mean, he plays all these villainous characters, but he's really nice and respectful person.
Yeah.
And he lives in Italy now, and he's got a farm, and he just lives with his animals. He protects animals and just lives with animals.
That explains it, because he made that film about the director Pasolini.
Yeah.
A few years ago, and funnily enough, going back to Robin Asquith was in the Pasolini film The Canterbury Tales.
The 6 Degrees of Robin Asquith.
Yeah. And that's is that famous for having or was it? Because Pasolini made his life cycle, so he made the Decameron, the Canterbury Tales, and the Arabian Nights, and one of them is the Canterbury. I think it's the Canterbury Tales that has Tom Baker full frontal, and this scene exactly. Yes, yeah. There's a scene.
I don't want to see that.
Yeah. Well, that's what it is. The Decameron and the Canterbury Tales, all these body tales about people being cuckolded and stuff like this, and relationships and stuff.
Talking about Tom Baker and relationships, was he not banging Layla Ward from Doctor Who at the time as well? Remember, she was the schoolgirl.
She became
She was a schoolgirl.
Became
I don't
his
think.
wife.
I think she played. Yeah, that's right. She became a wife. Yeah.
No, it was. It was Mary. Was it Mary Tam? They created this female Time Lord kind of thing, Romana. Is it Romana?
Oh, Romana. Yeah.
So Mary Tam, who was in Tales That Witness Madness and the Odessa Files, so she only had one series of being Romana, and then Romana regenerates a bit like the Doctor, and she regenerated into Lalla Ward, which then she ended up becoming, because I think does Lalla Ward play? Does she play the young Princess Elizabeth, the young Elizabeth I? And is it the Prince and the Pauper or something like that? But she then became married to Tom Baker.
Okay. So
and
they
then
got married.
And then I don't know if Lalla Ward now. She divorced Tom Baker, and is she not married to Richard Dawkins?
Oh, that big brainy guy. So the world-renowned atheist that basically just.
Yeah.
If you talk religion to him, you'll have a discussion about it. And,
Yes.
Yeah. And that's okay, because I remember she was in Vampire Circus as well.
Yes,
Had a small part in that as well.
Yeah. She had all these little these people who, either ended up becoming TV stars or ended up becoming TV presenters.
Did she not become like some toffee conservative kind of?
I don't think so.
No,
I don't think.
Or maybe getting mixed up with somebody else.
Unless, once again, I don't know when she gave up acting. Whether she
was quite hot in her days, though. I know so.
I don't know. I don't know whether or not she ended up like most people ended up, either becoming painting or a writer or setting up a shop somewhere. I'm not too sure.
Yeah. Well, okay. So we've kind of. We thought we were going to struggle today, especially with Tower of Evil, which I'm not saying it's a bad movie, but it does have its moments. It's definitely worth checking out. And The Fog, which is a personal favourite of mine, and it's a go-to movie if I just want to put something on in the background. But any other last thoughts for either movie, Ian?
Just that cinematography make both films. That makes a hell of a lot of difference. Yeah. But I would rather sit and watch a terrible film that's got fantastic photography than a good film that hasn't got any, you can't watch. You know, it just kind of blends in the background because it's either washed out or whatever. Now, if that's the style, but yeah, the cinematography. If you're flicking through the television and something Technicolor or something bright, and you think, what is that? And 8 times out of 10, it's usually some, like say, horror stuff. And sometimes the horror stuff's got the best cinematography. You know, not Terence Fisher. No, it wasn't Terence Fisher.
Oh, the
cinematographer, Freddie Young and Freddie Francis. That's the two cinematographers who became kind of directors. They've and I think it was Freddie Francis who did a lot of horror as well.
Who was the Freddie that? Sorry, who was the Freddie that was a cinematographer on Edward Zwick's Glory? I think that was one of those Freddies as well.
Yeah, because you had Freddie Young and Freddie Francis, and they're both.
I get them mixed up.
Yeah. I say one did the Elephant.
I don't know why, but I just get them mixed up.
Yeah, I think one British
cinematographer called Freddie.
I'm positive. Yeah, one did the Elephant Man, and one did directed and cinematography for what do you call it? A lot of Amicus stuff for some reason as well.
Yeah. Okay, well, thanks for joining me today, Ian.
Pleasure as always, Gary.
Yeah. And we're going to give that a wrap. Okay, if you're still with us, thank you for bearing it. So
yes.
I know, no idea what we're going to do next. We'll surprise you. Okay. See you later. Bye.
Bye.